Welcome to Doc Lanew's Storytime. I am Doc Lanew. A friend of the channel, David, found an interview of his father, Grandpa Duck, and sent it to me. I read 2 of Grandpa Duck's stories in one of my early videos. I will link the video at the end of this interview. Now, let's get to the story.
I'm Fred Coos, and my nickname is Grandpa Duck. God has given me the gift of recognizing and writing these stories. My grandchildren have been my greatest source of inspiration and gave me my pen name, Grandpa Duck. My wife Ruth has been my greatest supporter and editor, and my 2 daughters, Martha Cook and Mary Brooks, help me edit and provide many suggestions. My son Mark Coos and his wife Debbie helped develop the books. Their children Nick, Quint, Bailey, and Austin helped me with the production. My son David and his wife provided the expertise to complete the book. This book began when I jotted down some of my experiences with animals, birds, and fish. I shared these stories with my grandchildren. They liked them and wanted more. I discovered that I enjoyed writing and sharing my stories. These stories have to be fictional because they came from my imagination. However, they're based on experiences that actually happened. Someone had once said, if it's not written down, it never happened. I hope you enjoy these stories too. I dedicated this book to my wife, Ruth Russett Coos, and about some of the praises that we had for Grandpa was from my son, or my grandson. So, Christopher Cook.
All right, and you've got Furry Friends as the start of your book there, Dad.
Yeah, that's the name of it. I have about 7 or 8 really stories there. I think my favorite one is Flopsy, because it...
So you really ran into a furry friend that looked like Flopsy?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, why don't you read us the story of Flopsy? That sounds interesting.
I first met Flopsy while I was taking my daily walk. He is something I had never seen a rabbit do before. When he saw me, he came out of on the street and started hopping right towards me. I really didn't know what to make of this, because rabbits usually run away from humans when they see them. But not this rabbit. He hopped right up to me and started talking a blue streak. Hi, I'm Flopsy with 1 P, with 2 P's, please. I am a cottontail rabbit and one of the 2000th generation. As you see me now, my ear flops. That's how I got my name. I have 1 brother and 1 sister. Their names are Mopsy, with 2 P's, if you please, and Pierre the Cottontail. Do you want to hear how I got my name? By this time I had gotten over being flabbergasted and struck dumb by this fast-talking bunny rabbit. I said, "Whoa, slow down, and let me get my senses back. You're the first rabbit I have ever talked to." He interrupted me and started talking a blue streak again. "What's your name? Are you married? How many children do you have? Where do you live? Do you have grandchildren?" "Stop," I said. "Come up for air and let me answer you. My name is Grandpa Duck, and I am married. I have 7 children, 14 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. I live 2 blocks down the street and 1 block over. Let me ask you some questions. How come you hopped right up to me? Most rabbits would have run away. How come you talked non-stop?" "Well, Grandpa Duck, I heard about you from Rodney the Robin, and Ozzie the Otter, and Gus the Gator, and other animals through the animal telegraph. They all said you could talk to me, so I wanted to meet you. I never can get a word in edgewise when I am at home. My nieces and nephews are always talking, so when I get the chance I have to talk fast. You want to hear how I got my name?" "Yes," I said. "I would like to hear how you got your name." "Here goes," Flopsy said. "When I was a young rabbit, I was always hungry. I never listened to my mother when she said be careful when I'm eating. She told me I should never go out in the open field without checking the sky. One day, when everyone else was taking a nap at our burrow, I couldn't sleep because I was still hungry. I snuck out of the burrow and went back to the field where we had eaten before. I went very carefully from one clump of grass to the other. When I got to the field with the tall, sweet grass, I looked both ways for danger. Seeing no one, I hopped out to the open field. And started to eat. I stopped every so often to look around, but I forgot my mother's advice, and I didn't look to the sky. Suddenly I saw a shadow before me. I jumped back in alarm. That saved my life. But the hawk had talcons had cut my ear, and I ran as fast as I could, dodging and weaving back and forth through. I tried to hide my ear from my mom, but as you know how moms are, she knew something was wrong, and she licked my ear clean every day until it healed. Now my ear flops all the time. That was a good story, Flopsy, with 2 P's, if you please. I'm going to write you your story so other people and animals will mind their moms. I have to go now. come back again, Grandpa Duck, and I will tell you another story about Flopsy, or about Mopsy and Pierre Z. Cottontail. Praise God for Flopsy.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story, Dad. I like that.
Yeah.
And that's a good motto, is to listen to what your mother has to say, because sometimes they know best, right?
Absolutely.
I wonder if Grandma had a lot to do with that story.
Yes, she certainly did.
Yeah.
You betcha. He was
Okay.
a good advice person.
Yeah, got good advice from Grandma.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh my gracious.
You see any others there that are striking you?
Yeah, I got one here that's called Ozzy the Otter.
Good. Tell us about Ozzy.
Ozzy was a sea otter, and is black as midnight. Inland otters are brown in color and not as large as sea otters. Sea otters are very playful and like to get into mischief, just like the inland otters do. When I first met Ozzy, he was herding a bunch of baby raccoons through my backyard. He was so busy that he didn't notice that he had headed them right up to my feet. He stopped and glanced up with a guilty look on his face. "Ozzy," I said, "what are you doing? Picking on these poor little raccoons." He squirmed like a little boy who was caught with his hand in a cookie jar. "Why don't you pick on someone your own size?" This distraction was all the little raccoons needed. They disappeared in a flash. Ozzy started explaining to me that these little bandits had stolen his lunch, and he was teaching them a lesson. "That's okay, Ozzy. After all, they're little babies, little bandits anyway. Come and see me again sometime," I said. About a week later, I saw Ozzy walking along the highway, very close to the Myakka River Bridge. Ruth and I were in our car going towards the bridge. There was a break in the traffic, and Ozzy speeded up, trying to get across the road. I said to Ruth, "It looks like Ozzy wants to cross the highway." But Ozzy didn't see a large truck that was hidden from his view by the side of the bridge. The truck was moving very fast and would have hit Ozzy for sure. I shouted out loud, "No! Don't cross the road, Ozzy." I was in the car with the windows closed, so he really couldn't hear me, but Ozzy put his Ozzy brakes on and stopped just in time. Then he ran back to me in the bush by the river. I could hear him say, "Thanks, Grandpa Duck. I owe you one." I am sure glad that I could talk to animals. Praise God for sea otters.
So did you see an otter with raccoons actually, or do
Yes,
you think they just hung out?
that really happened.
Wow.
Yeah, it really
I
happened.
wouldn't think that raccoons would follow a sea otter around.
Well, he was hurting him.
Ah,
They didn't like it very much.
they weren't very happy about that.
No, they were not. And he was teaching him a lesson.
Well, raccoons have a habit of stealing people's stuff, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Did you ever see any raccoons when we were camping? And
Oh yeah, quite
They-
frequently we see raccoons.
Yeah.
They like to come and eat food from you.
yeah,
So on. So
well, that's good. I'm glad you found a story where you can include both otters and raccoons. So
yes.
do you have any favorite characters, ones that you like writing about more than others?
Well, this one here is one I sort of like. In fact, this one is one that really got me started more than the else.
Oh, the first one you wrote?
Yeah, I think so. Conceivably.
Alright.
We love Chip. He comes to us every morning and we usually hear him before we see him. Cardinals are very beautiful, have a beautiful song, but that's not what we hear. We hear his name, Chip, Chip. My heart began to sing every time I hear and that sound, because I know I'm going to be treated by one of God's truly beautiful sights, the cardinal. After the sound, we see a flash of red against the bright green leaves of the Florida landscape. Chip is not a very big bird, but he's a member of the finch family. He sure brightens up the day when you see him. He has a bright red breast and head. He has a black mask on his face. Though he doesn't seem like a bandit, he is very perky and lives on and has a tuft on top of his head. Chip is very peppy and active bird, never-ending bit of motion. He is very careful feeder. Let me tell you about him. First he flies to a nearby tree to look things over. Then he'll fly and branches above the feeder. And if no one's around, he hops down then to the feeder. He looks around some more, and when he's sure that it's okay, he takes a couple of pecks and looks around again. I know Chip is not a coward because I have seen him chase away larger birds after he started to feed. He's not fussy either. He goes to the ground and feeds with the other birds. Did I say he? I meant they. His wife comes with some Chip sound, but she is not as colorful as the male. She is just as cautious though, and very perky. They always seem very happy and bright. God had made the female male very drab, so when she's on the nest, she'll be not seen very easily. That way the female is protected while watching her young. One day I saw a different male cardinal. How did I know he was different? His breast was almost orange in color. The feathers were fluffy and ruffled, just as like hair when you first wake up in the morning. I thought it was an intruder until I saw Chip on the branch close by. This was Chip Jr. His chip was a higher pitch, just like a teenager before his voice changes. We see Chip's son every day now, and his breast is getting deeper red. I really love to see our peppy, cheerful cheerleaders every day, and bring so much joy and color and brightness to our lives. Praise God for cardinals.
So Chip and his wife had a son, and his son started out a different color.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, but that's how you could tell the male from the female.
Yeah, God's camouflage on the female so that she doesn't draw attention to herself. And I imagine if somebody's bothering the nest, Chip will show up, and they're attracted to his bright color.
Yeah, he certainly is.
Will chase after Chip instead of his wife, and that way the line keeps on going instead of them being in danger. So that's an awesome story there.
Yeah.
So you've also written some stories about birds. So that was a story about a bird, Chip.
Yeah, it was.
It's a feathery thing. And you have some stories about finny things as well, right?
Yeah, I certainly do.
And what's this one? You got one about a tree?
Yeah. Don't die, little tree. When we lived in, trying to think of the name of it, I think it was out by the Mayaca River anyway.
Right by the river, yeah, with the sailboat.
Yeah, and we had, I wanted to put a tree house up, and as I looked around in the backyard, I saw that there was a little tree, and actually it wasn't so little, but it looked that way because next to their water towering palm trees, it looked sort of scrubby, and I decided one day to cut it down. The whole side of the tree and the top was dead and unsightly. In fact, it looked more dead than alive, and I saw it was time for it to let it go. After lunch or so, I took another look at the tree. I saw that it was fuzzy looking growth on the branches, so I decided to take down the dead branches and part of the top that I could reach. Then I took off the parasite growth on the good branches. There wasn't too much left of the tree. Then I did a couple of strange things. I said to the tree, "Don't die, little tree. We need you." I was surprised that the little tree answered me and said, "Just look at me. I'm all cut up, and I don't look like a beautiful tree I once was." I didn't give an inch and say it anymore. "I love you, little tree," I said. Then I gave it a big hug. Have you ever hugged a tree? I felt a little foolish. I thought the tree had lost its will to live. I hope you never feel foolish to give your kids a hug and lift them when you see. Kids, wouldn't be a bad idea to give mom and dad a big hug too, if you love them. One day I received a bird feeder and a birdhouse from my son Dave. That's you.
Yeah.
I looked for a place for them in the backyard. It seemed to me a good place to put them. The whole house opened up to the water in the backyard. I looked at our little tree, and there it was. One branch that looked strong enough to hold either the feeder or the house, but not both. The tree was close to the house and other trees. I had heard the birds like to look over a situation before they feed. The ideal place seemed to be on the tree. So I asked little tree if I could put a feeder on the tree. The tree was very excited and the thought of it. He said, "Sure. Now we can see the feeder from our dining room table." Who am I kidding? We had never seen any birds in our yard. A month later, one of our friends from up north said to me, "I've been watching your feeder for a half hour. I haven't seen one bird come to your feeder." "Yes, I know," I said. "I don't think there's any birds around. Maybe they're too close to the bay and we have and water on three sides of us." A few days later, I was looking out towards the feeder and I saw a big red woodpecker. "Oh, great," I said to myself. "Woodpeckers don't eat seeds." But I was wrong. This one was taking seeds out, then he could fly to the trunk of the tree and then crack open the seed and eat them. I know that there is an animal telegraph system, and because soon we had doves coming. Then blackbirds come. Then came our beloved Chip and his family. Now we also have blue jays, mockingbirds, red-winged blackbirds, sparrows, even a white parrot, colored parakeets, and even some ducks one day. While filling a feeder, I noticed Little Tree had formed a branch that reached to the sky, and it had lots of healthy branches and leaves. What happened, Little Tree? Now, he says, I have a reason to live. These birds need my shade and my shelter, and they sing beautiful songs to me every day. I thought, if they're singing to me, how can I give you some shade? I love you, Little Tree. And he answered, I love you too. Praise God for little trees.
That was a great story, Dad. I like that one.
That makes me tearful.
Yeah, a little bit. That's good, though.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Yeah, it's a lot of stories for one book.
Well, we'll read some more of those later. For right now, we're going to take a little break.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I have, what I really should have done is I have for each story I have a caricature.
Okay.
Now they put in, this is their caricature.
Yeah, they put in some pictures, but I know you had Joni draw some for you, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Joni wrote some, and actually Nick did, and they're sort of cute.
Yeah, we'll have to look, and maybe we can find those, and we can.
Oh, they're in
take pictures of them and add them to this.
They're in a manila folder.
Okay, well, we'll look for them here after lunch.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. If you have short stories, poems, art, or music that you would like featured on this channel, please email it to j.lanew.stories@gmail.com. Click on the icon to the left for a previous episode. Click on the icon on the right to subscribe to my channel. And always, please like, comment, and share this video. Until next time, take care of yourself.